What's up, Wisconsin? Welcome back to the Inside Wisconsin Show here on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts and wherever you're on social media. We are there with all the fun clips and funny things and stupid things that I say. He doesn't say stupid things. That's John Anderson. Trevor Thomas, though, a lot of stupid things. I do.
I think just as a preview, foreshadowing, I think if you listen to John Wisconsin this week, I think there'll be some contention as to who also does stupid things. Okay, you don't know it yet. You don't know it yet, but just brace yourself because you're going to go, "Wow, you're dumb."
It's up there on the stupid meter. It's up there.
Just, yeah,
I got a buddy that says if we're going to have a stupid off, get in line. Like get in line behind me.
What is it? A friend of mine sent me a T-shirt. It said, "That's a terrible idea." What time? So that's sort of my life. You know, or it was. I don't know if it still is. We'll see. Listen, just think like in about a week, I'm done. Think how much time I have in my schedule for a while to do stupid stuff. I am wide open to idiocy. This could be good.
You have my number.
Or it could
Let
be
me know what time. I am all in on the stupid off. That sounds like a blast.
It could be good. It could be terrible. But, you know,
have Miller Lite will travel.
Got to try not to get thrown in jail before I come back home to watch some Rockers games so I can see Colin. And I got to try not to get thrown in jail before I go to Paris for the Olympics. Like both those things would be bad.
Bad for business.
But after I get back from Paris, August 12th, 13th, we're wide open to be a bonehead.
Look out.
Yep.
Look out.
Could be that.
Our guest today, not so stupid. As a matter of fact, the brand that he represents and the brand that we all know and love here in Wisconsin, it's Kwik Trip. Not stupid at all, a game-changing deal. So we reached out to Kwik Trip. We've been wanting to tell the Kwik Trip story since we started Inside Wisconsin. It's impossible not to talk about Wisconsin and not talk about Kwik Trip. So today's guest, John McHugh. John is the External Affairs Communicator.
He's got a long title.
Storyteller.
Right? Makes him sound important. He's a super important guy because he's got a long title.
And he's a heck of a storyteller. You're going to enjoy this. If you've ever been in a Kwik Trip, which literally every single person that's either watching this or listening to this has absolutely 100% been in a Kwik Trip, you will love today's episode because we get to learn why it's so awesome, what makes it awesome, what will continue to make it awesome, and why, frankly, we all struggle to go anywhere else in the state of Wisconsin. So we will see you next time as we jump in to our conversation with John McHugh from Kwik Trip on the Inside Wisconsin Show.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Kwik Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube, leave a review, smash the like button, just get with us. Kwik Trip has no need for introduction. Everybody in the state of Wisconsin knows Kwik Trip. They don't know John McHugh. We're going to get to know him and the Kwik Trip story today. That's John McHugh. He's the VP of External Affairs, External Communications. We're just going to call him the storyteller. He's the Kwik Trip storyteller. John, thanks for being here on Inside Wisconsin, man.
It's an honor to be with you too.
A lot of Johns. Trevor will change his name by the end of the show. That's great. This is the dumbest place to start, but I have to because my journalism background, my grandmother and mother, the English teachers. I mean, who's in charge of spelling at the company? Because that's not how I spell quick.
and John, not only that, but every single teacher in the state of Wisconsin just dreads the fact that we don't spell it the right way. Yep.
So who decided that was it? Like when the family sat down and said, "Let's do this. We're going to do a store, and we'll spell it wrong."
And here's the background to it. As you probably know, there's another Kwik Trip in the United States spelt with a Q. And not exactly the way it's supposed to be spelt, but it's with a Q. And to distinguish them, at least visually, that's why we're Kwik Trip with a K.
I lived in Tulsa for a long time. I know those people too. So I feel this is better now. My conscience as a Wisconsinite, I feel like I'm clearing my conscience for the 7 or 8 years I spent in Tulsa. That now I like there's some absolution in having you on this show today.
Well, that's good to hear.
So John mentioned the family. Take us back to the beginning, John. The Zietlow family are the sole owners of Kwik Trip, but they didn't start Kwik Trip. So how did this begin with the way it is today?
Yeah, we actually started back in 1965. a lot of people think that we started in La Crosse, Wisconsin, which is our home base. That's actually not true. Our very first store was in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, about an hour and a half north of us here in La Crosse. It was a small underperforming grocery store, and they decided to convert it back into a convenience store as we would know today. Ironically, back then when they first opened that store, it had a lot of the things that we have today, like fresh meat, chicken, kind of a small grocery store concept that we've actually come full circle. Well, there was actually 3 owners at the time. They had all been associated with a company called Gateway Foods here in La Crosse. The Zietlow family, that was a 1/3. Then the Hansen family, and then the Reinhardt family. And then in 1989, the Reinhardt family moved out of it. So it was just the Zietlows and the Hansens. And then in the year 2000, the Zietlow family took sole ownership of the company. It's been the case ever since.
So Trev, like I have, started in 1965.
And I didn't start until 1983. I mean, we'll go back and forth on that a bit.
Yeah, nothing happens with Trev unless that happens when they go. So I need to know, like, this is a big, successful company, and kind of like, well, I just want to know why I can buy Packer stock. Why are we still private? Why can I get a initial public offering, please?
Boy, John, you have a request that so many people said, I would love to invest in Kwik Trip. Or boy, if I had invested in Kwik Trip back in the 80s, boy, I'd be a multimillionaire now. The reason why it's family owned is because all the profits come back to the coworkers. The Zietlow family takes almost nothing out of the company. So practically last year, all of us in the company, all 38,000 of us, didn't matter if you were full-time or part-time, all of us got a 12.5% cash bonus. So whatever you made that year, multiply that by 12.5, and that's what you got for cash. All of us got 5.5% in our 401k. Even if we didn't put a dime into it, it's better than the match. The Zietlow family wants one company in which the profits come back to the people that actually do the work, not to some CEO sitting in an office someplace. So we'll always stay privately owned. We're structured to remain privately owned for another 50 years yet, so that the family will continue to give back to the coworkers. And we've often said internally, John, we don't simply want to remain privately owned. We want to remain privately owned by the Zietlow family, because there's a difference, because there's not another company in the United States that shares profits the way they do.
But could I at least then buy a worthless piece of paper for $250 that says I'm an owner of?
There you go. You bet.
You thought of that, because people will go for this. I've seen it happen more than once.
Hey, John, not only do I have one of those, but I was one of those people back in the 90s that for $25 bought a piece of the frozen tundra. Used to sit in my freezer for about 10 years until I got married. And my wife said, hey, there's no room for chicken. What's with the piece of dirt? Get rid of it.
And you married her anyway? Because that seems like that could be a deal breaker.
I actually planted it out on my land, and I still know, because it's a brighter piece of grass than all the other grass in my land. So
all right, well,
I genuflect every time I move in front of it with the mower.
As long as you found a good home for it, we're okay with that.
Yeah.
So if it started with the Zietlow family and that kind of brought us to today, what was the tipping point, John? Because I grew up with a Kwik Trip not far away from where I lived. I grew up on bagged milk, right? This is what we had in our house. Milk came in bags in a pitcher, and you cut the corner off. But what was the tipping point between your prototypical convenience store that happened to do things a little bit different and the mogul of a brand that is Kwik Trip today?
Yeah, Trevor, I think the transition really happened right around the year 2000, in which we decided to make a strategic differentiator. Back then, convenience stores primarily would hang their hat on 2 sources of income: fuel, gasoline, and tobacco products, primarily cigarettes. Well, you really can't hang your hat just on fuel sales, because we don't control the price of fuel, contrary to what people believe. That's dictated by suppliers way higher in the chain than we are. And tobacco sales have been declining substantially every year since then. So we knew we needed to change our business model. So we decided to become a food destination. And the idea being that in between your major grocery shopping visits every 2 weeks or so, you'll run out of your basic commodities like eggs, milk, butter, bananas that you can't keep fresh for 2 weeks. And if we could be your destination for those items in between your major grocery shopping visits, that would be our niche. And so that really, I think, is what started to change the image of Kwik Trip from just a gas station that had beef jerky and Mountain Dew to now really a food destination, not only for your commodities, but for your cheeseburger, your pizza, and now your fresh chicken. That was really the change.
That makes sense.
You got to have a ton of data-driven stuff on this. How often do people fill up and go grab something? How many people come just to grab the Mountain Dew, or how many people come to get a chicken? Like, how does that break down?
Yeah, good question. There's a huge percentage of our guests who sometimes stop at Kwik Trip not for fuel for their car at all, but for fuel for their body. We have probably about 44% of our guests who are just buying stuff, what we call inside the box. It's a very, very, very small percentage of people that just stop for fuel for their car. More often than not, if they come to Kwik Trip, they're there for two reasons, not only for the car, but also for stuff for their body as well. So we would be really out of the norm in terms of the convenience store industry because of that. Now, part of that, John, we can do it in terms of value pricing because 80% of all the products inside a store, we actually make or produce ourselves here in La Crosse. We have our own dairy, our own commissary, our own ice plant, beverage line. So we make it all ourselves. That means for the guest, for the consumer, there's no middleman. So we're not paying somebody else to make it. We're not paying somebody else to ship it. We have our own shipping department. And then we can pass those savings along to the consumer because we're not paying two other people in the process.
So you talked about the fuel, right? We get that from someone else who's bringing it to us. But to do those things you just talked about, when you decide, okay, we're going to be self-suppliers, that's a huge pivot. And that's a huge undertaking in terms of capital and stuff to get that started. Like, oh, we got to who okays that? Who finally went in there and said, okay, this is it, but it might take a minute before we go back and see we're in the black.
Yeah, John, a couple of things. We've grown organically in that regard. So, for example, the dairy started back in 1981 and actually didn't even start here on campus, started in Caledonia, Minnesota. And then eventually we built a kitchens facility to do the pizzas and the soup and the sandwiches. Eventually, we started a bakery, and then that evolved actually into two bakeries. We have one bakery that's entirely just for the bread and the buns. And then there's another bakery that's entirely the sweet goods, all the donuts. So we've grown organically over the years. It's not like all of a sudden we opened up a 140-acre campus here in La Crosse and said, bam, we're going to invest $1 billion and then go from there. So it's happened organically.
Okay. You mentioned campus. I need to ask about that because I see the ESPN's got a huge campus because it literally looks like a campus. And every time somebody goes, well, you're Disney, why don't you go to Orlando? Or why don't you go to New York? And Trev's been here and you take a look at it and you go, I can see why I don't move that. Like, how big's the place? What's it look like if I show up and if I could borrow your badge and get in?
It's a 140-acre campus with multiple facilities. All of our production facilities are here. Our distribution centers here, our main offices. The only thing that we have off campus now, and it was real recent, just this past year, we now have a training facility that's about 5 miles away. And part of it's we're kind of landlocked where we are here in La Crosse on the north side, and the limited space that we still have available, we want to use that for the expansion for things like the dairy or the bakery, because with more stores, you just need to create more products. So that's the only piece that's really off campus now. But yeah, it's an entire Kwik Trip village, if you will. Anything you have in a large major corporation, we have here on campus. Marketing department, HR, IT, infrastructure, anything you can imagine for a company of $4 billion in sales, we have here on campus.
$4 billion in sales. My goodness.
Yeah.
And it started in Wisconsin, right? And I know you're not just in Wisconsin anymore. We won't talk about the places outside the border. Don't care.
Okay.
But what does it mean for Kwik Trip in Wisconsin? Okay, I take that back. I do care. I want nothing but the best for Kwik Trip, but I care most about inside the borders. Let's just be real. Inside Wisconsin. It started here, right? And Wisconsin is home, and your social media team is not afraid to remind us all of that it's about Wisconsin. So what does Wisconsin mean to Kwik Trip, John?
Well, a couple of things. Because we are based here in Wisconsin, we also make sure that this is our area of emphasis, not only in terms of growth, but for a lot of the products that we don't make or produce ourselves, we make sure that they come from Wisconsin, if at all possible. So, for example, as you can imagine, we go through a lot of cheese, whether that's on the cheeseburgers or on the pizzas, grated on the salad. That all comes from Wisconsin. The potatoes come from the Stevens Point area. You name it, we try to get it from Wisconsin. So we try to make sure that as a primary location, that we're also really doing business here in the state of Wisconsin as well. Again, with, we have over 880 stores, and now that's the entire footprint, not just Wisconsin. But when you do the math on all the products and services that we buy from other fellow citizens here in Wisconsin, it's pretty substantial when all is said and done.
Yeah, I looked. I had the store count as 875 according to the website, But then like you open a new store and it's store like 1265. So in addition, sometimes your spelling has thrown me. Your math is a little fuzzy too.
Oh, John, don't even try to do the store number piece. It confuses me as well.
Okay. So I'm not sitting up and like, why didn't I not pay attention? Okay. So it's not that. The number 38,000 is amazing in terms of those employees. Like, I just want to know what it's kind of the company feeling is that we 38,000, like that's a good sized town in Wisconsin, even again that they're abroad, but that's a staggering number for one company to employ, let alone take care of it 12.5% when you do that. How is it that we kind of do the care and feeding of those people, that they buy into, that they are working for something better, bigger than just, the name on the paycheck?
You bet. Yeah, there's a couple of things that go along with that, John. Again, the Zietlow family takes such good care of us in terms of the finances. But as we all know, most of us want more than just a paycheck. We also want to know that at the end of the day, something we did today made a difference. We want to know that there's a purpose to what we do, and that purpose has to be larger than just selling gasoline and donuts. So we actually spend a lot of time with our mission statement. Again, all companies have mission statements. I get this, some plaque on the wall, but a lot of times even the CEO doesn't know it. Well, I'll challenge you, go in any one of our stores and ask any one of our coworkers, what's our mission statement? I'll tell you, they know it. It's to treat others as you'd like to be treated and to make a difference in someone's life. Way back when, we used to read it off the page at the beginning of every meeting. Now we just recite it together. We do it before every single meeting. It reminds us what we're all about. Well, because we want to know that our coworkers have really done something for a guest customer that really made a difference. Whether that was just a simple smile. It's amazing how much the classic line that we use, see you next time, how much that really does make someone's day who hasn't had a lot of positive human interaction. So one of the things that we do is we track all those unsolicited guest compliment letters that are written to the corporate office about something one of our coworkers did. When we find that out, we reward that coworker with a pretty substantial gift card. We publish that every Wednesday. There's a newsletter that goes out to all the stores. And the first couple pages are nothing but these great letters that people have done. And then if they're really great pieces, I actually use them in my public relations stories. And sometimes when you read those letters, there's not a dry eye in the house. Now, when we first started doing this, publishing these letters back in 2004, that year we had 21 unsolicited guest compliment letters in 1 year. Well, if you take goodness and you celebrate it and you reward it and you acknowledge goodness celebrated creates more goodness. This last year, we received unsolicited 2,644 unsolicited guest compliment letters. Incredible. And so when you create that kind of environment where people are allowed to do the good thing, to take care of the guest. Trevor comes in, he's having a bad day. I recognize that. He's a regular customer of mine. I give him a free cup of coffee. It costs us what, $1.50, but at the end of the day, that made Trevor a loyal guest of ours, customers. That's what it's all about. It's about taking care of people and making sure that it's more important than just selling stuff.
Okay. So I need, since I don't have time for all 2,400 from the past year, but give me one, because I watch because they're not in our area either. Like you get a Chick-fil-A, right? And they sit down and they're like, this poor person, we saved their wedding. Like things like that. Like, give me one that moved you, that you're like, okay, this is one what's in the rota if you go speak to people?
It's a short
just
one.
In case you have it handy.
Yeah. I have tons of them. And I'll read it word for word, just so you know, this is not just the PR guy making this up. Quote, I'm a regular customer at your Sheboygan store. In the past, my family has caused the store a lot of problems because my son constantly steals from them. Not a good thing in our world. But your staff has always treated me with respect, even though my child has done this. On a side note, my family and I do not have much. My son went to the store on Saturday in February. He had no socks on because we just don't have money right now for new ones. It was snowing pretty badly, and one of the staff members was outside shoveling. My son was sitting on the curb cleaning the snow out of his shoes. Your staff member, Matt, came up to my son and asked if he was okay. He helped my son clean the snow out of his shoes and then gave my son his own socks off his feet. Matt also told my son that if he ever needed anything, just to come and ask. Boy, it gives a whole new meaning to giving someone the shirt off your back. Your staff continues to show respect to me, even after my child's mistakes that cost them time and money. Thank you for hiring caring people. Well, when I got the letter, I contacted Jessica, the store leader. I said, hey, this is pretty touching. Do you know anything about this? And this is what Jess emailed back. John, I was working when this happened. the coworker came back to my office after he did this, and he sat down in my office and he cried because he felt so badly for that kid. I was very proud of my coworker. His name is Matt. He'll be with our company a year this May. He's 18 years old and still in high school. Kids these days, huh? Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that happens literally thousands of times in our stores. So just treating people with the mission statement in mind, as you'd like to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't help but walk out of there knowing that too. That's see you next time. I want to get more into that when we get back from this quick break. The see you next time is a real deal. I try to, John's been in the store before, I'm sure, but doesn't live here in Wisconsin. I try to beat them to the see you next time. I'll tell you that story in a second. All right. Back in a bit with the storyteller from Kwik Trip. The whole Kwik Trip brand story will be told today on the Inside Wisconsin show. Back in a second.
The Inside Wisconsin show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Kwik Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube. Leave a review. Smash the like button. Just get with us. J.A., I mentioned to you in the past, you have to get a Blackstone. It is grilling season here in Wisconsin. Last night, out on our patio, we're making chicken and steak fajitas on this Blackstone. Miller Lite in my right hand, Flipper in my left, Amanda to my left. It's fun. I mean, you got to get a Blackstone.
I need the grill marks. I don't know that I can get there. I need the grill marks.
So maybe you can.
That's a sad excuse, but I do.
Do you grill? Are you grilling now? Where are you at?
Yes, it's finally nice out here. It stayed on. I had a horrible grilling experience, so just literally last night. So, I mean, it was fine. But we went to the old Avon Prime Meats, which is right around the corner in Avon. And the steaks are gigantic, right? And so I'm like, okay, well, could you take that and could you just cut it in two for me? Okay, right? So picture a big steak, cut it in two. How would you cut that? Just zip it in half, bring it to me, right?
I mean, I would cut it down instead of not across the.
This guy cut it in half. So now you got to cook these little, right? Then it was like this, and now it's half. Yeah, and like I got it, and I'm like, okay, it looks, I expect it to be that big, And I said, you didn't butterfly it, did you? And he's like, no, I don't think he knew what that meant. Anyway, so so the guy took the big steak and he cut it in half. This way,
Oopsies.
this way. Oh,
whoops!
Well, yeah, we survived, right? Like it's not. I didn't starve, so that's okay.
Miller Lite to the rescue.
Not exactly what I expected, and then just note, right? Then you don't have to grill it quite as long because it'll
sure
fry up quick.
Yeah. Well, and Miller Lite saves everything when it comes to grilling. All summer long, with the Miller Lite in hand, grilling doesn't just taste great; it tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/InsideWisconsin, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories per 12 ounces. I really tried. I tried really hard. Miller Lite came out with these Miller Lite green keg grills. So we talked a lot about the green egg grills. They have a green keg grill, and they put some out for sale, and I'm probably going to have to buy one on eBay, but I want one really bad. They're really cool.
Real quick, let's do an experiment, okay? Okay, look right at your camera.
Got it.
Okay, point to the Miller Lite over your shoulder. There you go. Good.
Did I get it right?
You're getting better. Yeah, you're getting better. There you go. You got it.
Only 85 episodes.
There, like,
winner. I'm going to go be a weatherman. Yes.
Yeah, there you go. All righty. Good for you.
Time for another top 5 list here on the Inside Wisconsin show, presented by the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, a top university in Wisconsin. UW-Platteville ranks in the top 20 for regional universities here in the Midwest because of its quality academic programs, expert faculty, and affordable tuition. Learn more at uwplatt.edu. Tuition. Man, when Amanda went to college, I don't have a degree. She was there 4.5 years. I think it was $6,000 a year, including room and board. My son's high school is going to be more than that next year.
Where's he going to school?
Fox Valley Lutheran down in the Appleton market.
Okay. Yeah. Listen, college was when I went out of state at Missouri in '83 was like $6,000 out of state. So they nicked you. And now it's, as someone who's put a few through school, it's a lot more than that. But that's right. We save if you can. But yeah, that'll be
Platteville's still super affordable. Make sure you look them up. uwplatt.edu. All right, time for this one's top 5 list.
So I'm out of this one. This one I'm out of it. You're like, here's the top 5 list. And you did. You're like, oh, how about this? And I'm like, that's more on you than me.
Because you don't live here. I get it, right? So luckily, the vast majority of our viewers and listeners do live here, and they're going to appreciate this. And I want to know, all of you, I want you to comment below what your top 5 list is in regards to the top 5 things on the Kwik Trip Hot Bar. So when you walk into almost every Kwik Trip, the first thing you see is this hot bar, and they have sandwiches and pizza and all sorts of different concoctions, fried chicken now, breakfast items, endless supply of things that will keep you alive during your midday lunch stop or a late night snack or whatever the case may be.
So I feel like this is where convenience stores have really changed over the course of my lifetime. Because it used to be you went to the convenience store because everything else was closed and you needed absorption food post bar hours, right?
Yep.
Like that's now that people will buy something in the middle of the day. You're like, wait a minute, there's more than just that awful hot dog roller.
Yeah, like, no, there's a lot more.
Yeah. So I'm interested to hear what this, because I'm sort of the, hey, look, there's a hot dog. God knows how long that's been spinning there, but it's also 2:30 a.m. and I need something before I go home. So anyway, there's a little
time sticker on these. All right, this is going to be a debatable topic. I already know it, and my buddy Brett is going to hear this and be like, "Yep, this makes sense," because I've been to a Kwik Trip with you about 100 times. All right, number 5, they have a spicy chicken sandwich that is unbelievable, and I don't need 2. I just need 1. I don't know why every time I buy 2, but I just need 1. But they're really good.
Pickle on it? What does it have? Some sort of a nice aioli on it?
There's a condiment bar next to it that you can put on whatever you want. It just comes with a spicy chicken and a bun, but it's super good, and it's not too spicy. I don't need to sweat through my clothes. Number 4,
Popeye's on the run. What's next?
Mushroom and Swiss cheeseburger. So if you're at a restaurant and they have a cheeseburger and they have a mushroom and Swiss, do you order the mushroom and Swiss, or do you just go plain cheeseburger?
I would rather eat dirt than a mushroom.
Wow. See, I rest my case, Your Honor.
There you go. But Swiss is good. Here's what I do tell people this. I don't like a cheeseburger that has cheddar on it. Everybody tries to make that sound really, gourmet. Go watch cheddar. Comes from my dad. Cheddar is a horrible melting cheese, right? Go put it on there. It melts and it gets globby and it goes down the side. And it's not a great cheese on a cheeseburger. Don't be fooled by that. Cheddar is great. I'll eat it all the time. Not the best cheese on a cheeseburger. Sounds hoity-toity. Just put American on it. Call it good.
Now that brick of Velveeta, whatever that is, because it's not cheese.
Yeah, I'm just telling you, there's a lesson. Okay, try it sometimes. Put a little thing on and see what happens. You're like, oh, that's nice. And then it's all down the sides and there's very little on the burger. Yeah.
Noted. Well,
these are things. All right, what's
I'm
next?
a big fan of the mushroom Swiss. Number 3, it's all breakfast food from here on. Breakfast burritos. Have you had a breakfast burrito?
Not from there, but a lot of places. Heck yeah.
Unbelievable. They have them in to-go type of size. You grab a couple of those. The only problem with those breakfast burritos, they taste amazing, but I'm a sloppy eater. You've seen it. And so I don't really take my time, and I usually end up wearing a little bit of the breakfast burrito, but that happens. That'll happen.
Yeah. And sometimes that decision will come back to bite you by lunch.
Fair. That and the Karuba coffee. Number 2, bacon, egg, and cheese croissant. That's a Paris thing, right? That's Italian. Croissant. Okay, bacon, egg, and cheese.
That's French, but I'm just not even going to argue with you right now. Just keep going. You're on a roll.
Number 1.
Or actually, you're on a croissant, but still, I'm with you.
They have a breakfast pizza that's unbelievable. You can buy it and cook it at home. You can get it in slices. You can buy a whole pie if you're going someplace for a breakfast meeting and you want to take breakfast. I don't know what's on it. I know there's eggs. I know there's cheese. I have no idea what the sauce is. And the crust is a croissant crust. Dude. French, Italian, I don't care where it comes from. That stuff's unbelievable.
How often do you eat at this place?
I'll set the over-under at 4 times a week.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's just so easy. You fill up, you jump in there, you grab a bottle of water and a sandwich, and you're off to wherever Okay, so I know this is debatable, right? Whether you like mushrooms or spicy food or whatever, I really want to know, what are your top 5? Not you, John, but those that are viewing and watching and listening and tuning in, if you will. What's your top 5? I think it's highly debatable. What is your top 5 items on the Kwik Trip Hot Bar? This will be fun.
We should do a top 5 things that I just will not eat. Or you.
Yes.
I don't know, though, but looking at your size, I'm not sure you can get to 5. You might stop at 3.
Jeez, I'm tall, jerk.
Yeah, but you're big and you eat everything.
There's 100% chance that I
Name
will eat
Go ahead. Name me one thing you won't eat. That you've had to think this long is enough. It's all I need to know. Okay, ask me, name something I won't. I won't eat squash. I won't eat broccoli. I won't eat cauliflower. I won't eat a mushroom. So, like, I can just bang, bang, bang.
I think I ate all those things yesterday, actually.
Of course you did. So, anyway, I'm
not a picky eater. I know that's a shock to a lot of people. Not a picky eater. We're back, the Inside Wisconsin show. Trevor, John, and John McHugh, the storyteller, the brand guy for the Kwik Trip brand here in the state of Wisconsin. KT, as I call it, and it says that on some of the signs around Wisconsin. So you mentioned it in the segment before that you can't help but feel served when you go to a Kwik Trip. That's why we all drive out of our way on E to make sure that we fill up at a Kwik Trip because of the customer service. But at the end of a visit, every single time, the coworker says, "See you next time." Every single time, to the point where I think you have a few other options to say goodbye. And there was one time I was in line, checked out, and I'm like, "All right, great." And they go, "Thanks, have a great day." And I'm like, "Wait a minute. Aren't you supposed to tell me see you next time?" Like, I don't feel right unless I leave with that. So what is that all about? Because you literally say it every single time. See you next time.
Yeah, Trevor, that comment, it actually has nothing to do with increased profitability or sales. It has everything to do with creating a culture, not simply in the store, but in our communities, creating a culture of compassion. And where it comes from, if you ever studied psychology, was that guy by the name of Maslow. And he talked about the hierarchy of needs. And you remember that pyramid that he has, the hierarchy of needs. In the middle of the pyramid, there was this need to belong, that all of us have this need to belong. We have this instinctive piece of us as a human being that says, I want to go someplace where I'm always welcomed, where people are happy to see me, where I can always come back again. I often liken to this. My grandparents had a farm in northern Wisconsin near Phillips. And every time we'd go visit Grandma and Grandpa, when we were about to leave on Sunday afternoon, Grandma would always give you this big hug. And she'd say, Johnny, Grandma loves to see you. You're always welcome at Grandma's. If you ever need Grandma, you just pick up the phone and Grandma will be there for you. Well, as kids, when things weren't going well at home, instinctively, where did we go? Well, we turned to Grandma. And you know why? Because she mastered the return comment. She never let you leave without knowing that you were always welcome there. And we have multiple stories of guests whose lives are really impacted simply by that one line. It works.
And she gives you a piece of hard candy and $1, and then you'll always come back when that happens. So this company is not without warts. Okay, you probably knew this was coming. You guys do work with the Packers and the Brewers is nice, but you do work with the Vikings. So I'm going to need you to justify that right here.
Yeah, because we do operate in Minnesota, and sometimes
which is fine. Go ahead and operate in Minnesota. That's even fine too. I just don't know that we have to support the Vikings in this.
Although, obviously, Wisconsin guy, I'm somewhat biased, and I'm also somewhat religious. So I always remind people, what do you think the big G on the helmet stands for? And then the Vikings, they have horns on their helmet. Who does that remind you of?
Valid.
Yeah.
I don't know. By the way, speaking of the religious background, I saw this. You went to St. Thomas theology, then you go to Rome. Why are you not a priest? What are you doing here?
I got recruited away from ministry and teaching after 11 years by the owner of Kwik Trip. So,
okay.
I had been on the path. Yeah. And I had been a teacher at Aquinas High School, taught religion for almost a decade and done some adult education. Well, around that time, our owner, Don Zietlow, had heard a woman speak from Southwest Airlines by the name of Ann Rhodes and how they had created this great culture at Southwest Airlines. And after coming back from the conference, Don said, you know what, I want to create for the convenience store what Southwest Airlines did for the airline industry in terms of customer service. So he contacted me through a mutual friend because he knew I had done some adult education pieces and said, we have a training program, but we don't train on culture. We don't talk about our mission statement. He said, would you be inclined to come on deck and help us develop our training program for leadership development? So I said, well, Don, I'll give you 1 year. And then I have to decide whether or not I was going back into teaching and ministry or stay here at Kwik Trip. I was here at Kwik Trip all of 3 months and said, I'm not leaving. Because the higher up you went in the company, the nicer the people got. Again, I had never worked in corporate America before, but I had all these kind of preconceived notions of the politics and the backstabbing. And we didn't have any of that here. And so I said, well, I'm staying. And I've been there 20 years since.
So like, how's your Latin? How's your Greek, right? I'm assuming you don't get to use that every day, but we must know a little.
A little bit of Latin, a little bit of Greek, a little bit of Hebrew, although my Hebrew was taught to me in Italian by an Irish professor, so my pronunciation is awful. Although all my theology studies were in Italian, my favorite one was an Australian professor, and this is what he'd say: Buongiorno, chaps, come stai? Oggi parliamo sulla resurrezione di Gesù. He thought you were listening to an Italian commercial for Foster's Lager beer, when
right?
you're in theology class. So.
That's tremendous. One of my favorite professors I had at Missouri, he had actually left the priesthood. He had been there. He had gotten his divinity degree from actually studying at Marquette back in the day.
Okay.
And there's, university, there's Latin stuff written on buildings all the time. And he'd go back and go, oh, look at this. And I'm like, what does that say? So that's, I'm glad to see that you are able to, that was not wasted time, that you've managed to find a place where you can put that. Even if you are doing the Viking thing, which is still, questionable. Like, I don't even mind that you do stuff with the twins in the wild. That's a big, huge part of it. You talk about the 38,000 people that work there, and I'm sorry, go ahead, plug, just sort of the community efforts outside of that to be good neighbors.
Yeah, John, we actually don't broadcast very much what we do for all the communities in which we serve. We do a lot in terms of philanthropy. We receive over 500 requests a week for donations, whether that's for food pantries or for the YMCA, for United Way, various different organizations. That's pretty important to us. We don't broadcast it or publicize it, or you won't see a part of a building that says built in honor of Kwik Trip. And the reason is that the family that owns us says that we should do it just because it's the right thing to do, not because it's good PR. Well, I'll give you a good example of something that we do that really touches all of our communities. I mentioned that we make all our own products ourselves, a good majority of that. Well, because as soon as that product is made, it's shipped to the store, it has an incredible shelf life. It's fresher than any place you'll ever get. So, the milk will last for 2 weeks past the expiration date because it comes right out of the cow. It gets processed here, goes right to the consumer in 24 hours. Well, the question is, what happens when it reaches that official expiration date in the store, but it's still good for a couple of weeks? Well, all that product, which is still good, gets donated to all of our local food pantries. So last year, it was well over 1.5 million pounds of food that was saved from being thrown away because it was still good for several weeks. And it goes to all of our people who are experiencing food insecurity in our communities. It goes to all your local food pantries from Kwik Trip.
So I mentioned the milk in a bag thing, and that's obviously one of the products that's super duper fresh because it comes straight from your production facility in La Crosse. You tell a story about somebody having a bad day with milk, and they walk into your store and they're not happy about it. And we've all had bad days, and it's very difficult to walk out of a Kwik Trip still in a bad mood. That's certainly what I've experienced. Can you tell that story, though? Because this is so unique in regards to how Kwik Trip, I guess, not only serves the community, but individuals on an individual basis.
Yeah, again, we model ourselves on freshness. And the goal is really, I'm not joking, it's from the belly of the cow to the consumer in 24 hours. That's really our goal. Matter of fact, we even make our own milk jugs here. We have our own blow mold facility, so we don't even wait for the milk jugs to arrive. As soon as the milk jug is made, the milk goes out to the store. The cream, by the way, gets skimmed off the top, and that's what goes into our ice cream that we make ourselves as well. But our guests, especially here in the La Crosse area, know that that's our model, freshness. So we had a guest come into our store with a half gallon of 2% milk, found the store leader and said, you pride yourselves on fresh milk here at Kwik Trip. This is disgusting. This is bad milk. Smell this. So the store leader took the cap off and smelled it, and it was bad. Now, I don't know why she just wouldn't take her word for it. Why you had to smell it, but that was fine. She said, ma'am, I apologize. That is bad milk. Now, why don't you go back to the dairy doors and get 2 half gallons? They're on us today. And while the guest went back to the dairy doors, the store leader rang up for a $10 gift card. So the guest came up to the counter, put the 2 half gallons down, and again, the store leader apologized, said, ma'am, I apologize. That was bad milk. That milk's on us today, and here's a $10 gift card for your troubles. Well, that customer went from dissatisfied, past satisfied, right to loyal because of how we dealt with her problem. And she was so impressed that night at dinner, she said to her husband, yeah, Kwik Trip, they did me right. I brought the bad milk back. They gave me 2 half gallons for free and a $10 gift card for my troubles. And her husband said, why did you take it to Kwik Trip? It wasn't their milk. That was from the grocery store. And she's like, are you serious? He's like, yes. Well, to her defense, she came back the next day to apologize to the store leader. She found her. She said, ma'am, I was very upset with you yesterday about the bad milk. You gave me 2 half gallons for free and this $10 gift card. My husband told me it wasn't your milk. And our store leader said, yeah, I knew it wasn't our milk. I saw on the label that it wasn't ours. And the guest was perplexed and said, well, why didn't you say to me, sorry, lady, not my problem. Why don't you take it to where you bought it? And our store leader said right on cue, right out of our training, quote, ma'am, the goal is not to win the argument. The goal is to win your loyalty. The goal is not to win the argument. The goal is to win your loyalty. Well, you know, we've all heard that line that the customer is always right. Mm-hmm. It's not true. We have 11.5 million customers a week. And sometimes the problem is not bad product and not bad service. The real issue is that person is one toy short of a Happy Meal. Okay. Sometimes the customer is wrong. But how do you treat wrong customers with compassion to win their loyalty? So that's the example that we use with our people. Treat them right.
All right. I'm making a note here. I don't have to win every argument with Trevor, but the thing is I do. That's the problem.
I make it very easy on you. Do I not? I make it very simple.
So I have lived around different places around the country enough outside of Wisconsin to know there's a Kwik Trip, or down the street there's my Cumberland Farms, or there's a 7-Eleven, right? Like this is both kind of a crowded marketplace, but I find that it's really provincial, right? Like Kwik Trips are, here's this footprint, or where you go to the other Kwik Trip with the queue. How is it then we decide, and how do we kind of control our growth and where we go, and you know what's next, and not get too far out over our ski tips, or just put another store in so we can go, hey, we're in Montana.
Yeah, John, good question. We'll always be just a Midwestern company, and part of that's our business model. We really can't get past a 350-mile radius out of La Crosse, because once you get that far out, you can't do daily distribution of products. It just takes too long. And what happens is that the fully loaded truck drives to location, and by the time they deliver to 2 or 3 stores, they're coming back. They run out of hours by the DOT regulations, so you can't do it. Well, the other piece was things like our Glazer donuts. They're only good for 24 hours. So as soon as they're made, they're put on the truck and they're shipped out. So if you have a 2 or 3 day distribution leg, it doesn't work for our model. So for us, it's got to be 350 miles out of La Crosse for us to be effective. Now, at some point in time, we could establish another 140-acre campus. But again, as I mentioned earlier, we grew organically. To start that from scratch all of a sudden would be pretty cost prohibitive. So that's why we're a regional player. We don't aim to be a national player, but we aim to be the best regional player.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about loyalty, and yet there are people here in Wisconsin that take this to a completely berserko level. There are people that get wedding pictures taken at Kwik Trip. There are people that buy Kwik Trip underwear. I just saw Kwik Trip came out with a pair of shoes that somebody's going to buy.
Yeah.
What's that about? What is that about?
Yeah, Trevor, I'll be honest with you. I've been here 20 years, and it even baffles me. The amount of loyalty that we have from our guests is really, it's humbling. No matter where I go, people say, well, what do you do for a living? I'll say, well, I'm a vice president at Kwik Trip. Oh, Kwik Trip. I love Kwik Trip. And they tell their Kwik Trip stories and their experiences. And I think why, at the end of the day, is 2 things, specifically here in Wisconsin. I think people in Wisconsin are proud of the fact that it is a Wisconsin-based company. I think our guests that know our history know that the profits come back to all of us coworkers and it doesn't go to some rich CEO. I think that makes a difference. I think the fact that no matter what store you go into, the coworkers are friendly and they're happy to see you, I think that makes a difference. Because sadly, in today's world, I think customer service and retail has been going down, down, down. I mean, the number of times you go to some other store and like they don't even say hello to you or thank you. I think just when you have those basic common human decencies, I think that makes a difference. So I think there's those factors, but the loyalty that we receive is really, it's incredibly humbling. And I wish I could understand and explain it. I don't.
You mentioned the CEOs, the CEO. Is this right? Not only can the guy help me with convenience store items, but if in fact I may have some sort of really bad health problem, this guy can open me up and take care of me?
You bet. Yeah. Scott, our CEO, is a former trauma surgeon, head of the trauma department at Mayo in Rochester. He was our chair of the board for over 22 years. And then when he retired this year and a half ago now from Mayo, he stepped into his role as CEO to replace his dad. And, there's always the questions like what happens when you go from first generation owner to second generation. We're blessed that Scott is just as good a leader as his dad is in terms of other centeredness. This is a guy that, most doctors, when they retire from Mayo at 65, they spend the rest of their waking hours on the beach in Florida or golfing. He's decided to commit the next 10 years of his life to running the convenience store industry because he knows that the Zietlow family ownership is so critical to our culture and our people. That takes a lot of compassion and a lot of other centeredness, and we're very grateful.
So those two things don't seem to go together. Right. Like I know a lot of people who have business savvy but they cannot operate on anybody. Mm-hmm. What do you suppose? What's the thread there that makes you not qualified, but successful at both? Is there something in there that you find that?
Yeah. Scott has intellectual curiosity about everything under the sun. He's an avid reader. He's a constant lifelong learner. And I don't mean that as a cliche, but he really does. He loves to go to conferences and learn. He also pushes the rest of us to make sure that when we go to conferences that we come back and we talk about what the learnings were, what are the takeaways. He's inquisitive by his nature. He's also very collaborative. He wants to know what the rest of us think, where we think the company should be going, a strategic direction. So he also builds around him just a very successful team. And obviously, when you're in surgery, it's not just one doctor, but it's an entire team. He's had a long history, his career, of managing a very highly successful team in stressful situations where you have to make decisions like that. So I think the other piece of our culture is we also pivot quite frequently and pretty substantially as a company, where all of a sudden we decide one day we're going to do fresh fried chicken in all of our stores. And within months we did it. Now, most companies, this would take a several year process of studying, whatever. So, we have a history there of being able to pivot and think and react quickly. And obviously in his role as a surgeon, he had to do the same thing. So there's a lot of similarities.
I'm keeping a list over here of how many different products that we talked about, and I'm starving. It's just before lunchtime here when we're recording this. There's a glazer and some chicken in my near future.
Don't feel the man. He's 6'7". You got to feed him like every 3 hours. He's like this all the time.
Throw donuts at him.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
All right, we're back to wrap it up with John McHugh, the Kwik Trip storyteller, in just a minute. The Inside Wisconsin Show.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Kwik Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube, leave a review, smash the like button, just get with us. I'm just going to come out and say it. It's absurd how much money you can save at Festival Foods these days. I got a text message the other day that said, if you spend $75 or more at Festival Foods between these two dates, right, you will save an extra 40 cents a gallon with the gas rewards program.
You are so on the gas rewards. Like, how much are you just putting thousands of miles on? Like, what is this?
Yeah, I do put thousands of miles on. Deeper Roots and Impact and all the things that we do with the show throughout the state. I'm all over the place. Right. However,
which car do you drive most? Which car do you drive most?
This time of year, the Jeep, 100% chance. Top down, let's go. There's a reason it's this tan these days.
You still parking it out? You still parking out in the driveway and annoying the neighbors?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Excellent. Okay,
sure.
Sorry,
You're welcome.
I got distracted. Anyway,
I'm gonna do that as long as I can. All right, so saving money. That's what I was talking about. Jeez. Okay, this works on alcohol. That's my point. You can use gas rewards on alcohol. You can go into the spirits department, the liquor and spirits and beer and all of it, and spend, I don't know, buy 2-3 cases of Miller Lite, get a couple cases of bourbon, get a couple bottles of bourbon, whatever. That adds up fast, and you save 40 cents per gallon during this time frame. Now, I know that this is going to be passed by the time this airs, but my point is, go on to festfoods.com, sign up for their gas rewards program, and save. It's not hard.
That's all. That's all you're saying. Spend more and save money. That's what you're saying. It's that simple.
And it works with alcohol. Like
you seem to be. Listen, so, back in the day, cars worked on alcohol. Pour a little moonshine and off you go. Next thing you know, NASCAR. That's how
most of the time, though, when you do things like that, those are excluded. Like alcohol sales, not excluded.
In your case, it takes a lot of croissants to try and get up to that. Yeah, I get it.
Bestfoods.com. Gas rewards. It's gas-rewards. Festfoods.com/gas rewards. There are so many different ways that you can save at Festival Foods. Shop there, whether it's on gas or groceries or beer or birthday cakes, whatever the case may be. You can just save. They're all about savings at Festival Foods, and they're good at it. Festfoods.com. All right, we're back to wrap it up on the Inside Wisconsin show. Trevor, John, and John McHugh, the storyteller of the brand that is the mogul of Kwik Trip here in the state of Wisconsin. All right, 2 for me, then the fun lightning round with J.A. Here's my first one. You mentioned it earlier in regards to how you serve customers. Every once in a while, there's got to be an opportunity where you go, and you said the customer's not always right. But do your people ever come to you and take a step back and go, whew, that took every bone in my body not to figure out how best to handle that particular person right there?
Yeah, Trevor. And sometimes our coworkers do a phenomenal job, because when you're dealing with, again, 11.5 million customers a week, there's always challenges. And sometimes then if they can't handle it, it goes to the store leader. If the store leader can't handle it, it'll go to the district leader. If the district leader can't handle it, it comes to our department in public relations. And so I have some doozies. As a matter of fact, when I retire, come to my retirement party, because I'm going to tell you the top 10 HR inappropriate stories I had to deal with from customers. Okay. And I think the struggle for me becomes this way. And I think for all of us at Kwik Trip, we run the company like we own it, because the profits come back to us. So we're so invested emotionally in this company. It's not just a job for us. We become naturally defensive. And so it's hard to kind of walk yourself back to say, hang on, calm down, listen compassionately, empathically, because I think naturally the blood pressure just goes up, because they're attacking not just my company, they're attacking who I am. So I think for all of us at Kwik Trip, that's a tough challenge, is because we take it so personal because we're so invested. Is how do we step down and be patient with that guest when sometimes it's challenging?
I'll watch for the invite to your retirement party. 100% chance I'm going to be there for that. I hope it's not for a long time.
Can I come for a training session just in case?
You bet.
We once had an HR meeting. We had a guy come in, and I told him I didn't think we yelled at people enough. I've done that. And then literally the other night, a guy, I get it, we're really good friends, and he had messed up. And I told him, you know what, you could eat Smarties the rest of your life, and I could have Dum Dum Suckers, and you'd still never catch up. So I think I need a little quick tripping in my life, because I'm salty as I get ready to get done.
Okay, last one for me. John and I do a fun top 5 list every episode. And earlier, John and I talked about my top 5 favorite items on the Kwik Trip Hot Bar, which is a highly debatable thing. There's everybody has an opinion on what's good and what's bad. When I was in my early 20s, the $1 McChicken kept me alive. Single-handedly, the $1 menu at McDonald's, and specifically the McChicken, kept me alive. If you were going to eat one thing on the Kwik Trip Hot Bar to keep you alive, John, what is it?
It would be our ham and egg croissant in the morning. Love that.
Didn't make my list. That's insane.
It didn't make your list?
No, the bacon, egg, and cheese croissant made my list. So it's a close one. It's a close. I mean, they're same animal, just a different cut, I guess. Yeah.
Trevor asked me my top 5 things, and I said, I don't live in Wisconsin, right?
To which I said, you should definitely stop next time you're here and just stand there for a minute.
Yeah.
Where's the best market?
Actually,
top performing store.
You know where our best markets are, John, is actually in our small rural communities, where there used to be a neighborhood grocery store, but unfortunately it went away. And now de facto, we're the grocery store for the neighborhood, because you can get everything you need. You can get your eggs, milk, butter, bananas, your fresh meat, your poultry, whatever. So those are very, very strong markets for us.
By the way, the bananas probably do not come from La Crosse or the Wisconsin area, unless.
Well, hang on, but we do ripen them here. We ripen 12.5 semi-loads of bananas a week here in La Crosse.
Because otherwise, the state has changed since I moved out. If we're growing bananas somewhere, when it comes to anyway. All right, Trev, am I on now?
You're on, buddy. I'm in.
Oh, my goodness. All right, is this true or false? You guys, because I'm a sports guy, right? So I love and name, image, and likeness is a thing. You literally have a nil deal with a Badger band guy?
You bet. Why not?
I don't know, but tell me how this comes up, because you're supposed to sponsor the quarterback to win games.
Well, there's a lot of us who in high school and whatever did things other than athletics. So like, why not? This is a no-brainer for us.
That's great. The Badger, yeah, you got a Badger guy. Okay, this may be more for Trevor. Which one of these is actually not a convenience store? Wawa, Circle Back, Sheetz, or Come and Left?
I'm going to guess, and then I want John to tell me what the right answer is, most likely. Okay. What was the second one?
Circle Back.
I'm taking that one.
Okay. That is correct. That is a fake one. Have
close,
you ever
been... there is a Circle K, so you're very close.
Yes,
that's look at me.
Purposely, yeah. And Come and Go is not coming. There is a Wawa. People around here are crazy for a Wawa.
Yeah.
This convenience store chain, now defunct, was the sponsor of the 1989 CBA champions. You got any shot at that one?
Wow.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah, you guys
know what the CBA of champions is. What's that?
CBA, the Continental Basketball Association, not the NBA, CBA. They're champions. It was the Tulsa Fast Breakers.
Oh.
And the only reason I bring that up is Tamara was a cheerleader for the Tulsa Fast Breakers. That's how I met my wife. She sat on the baseline. Okay, give me the 3 branches of Wisconsin government. This is according to your social media team.
Our social media team?
Yeah.
Is this a serious question, or is this one of our social media lines?
Yes, the latter.
Yeah, good question. I don't know if I'd be able to answer this as smartly as they do. What was their answer?
Kwik Trip, Culver's, and the Packers.
Craig Culver used to be on our board of directors for well over 10 years, so there's some similarities there.
That was there. Of the 6-7 states you do business in, how many of those do you think my good Sports Center partner Steve Levy could identify on a map? Steve is from Long Island.
None.
He could name one, but he thinks they're all the same place. No matter which one, you go South Dakota, you go Anderson, isn't that where you're from? And I like Wisconsin. He goes, exactly. It's all the same thing. Sure. Give me the only state in the U.S. where it is illegal to pump your own gas.
New Jersey.
There you go. Still hanging in there. I just got back from Oregon where they just changed the law. Yeah, you didn't know that, Trev?
Yeah. I feel like I did participate once when I was visiting a buddy that was playing for the Jets, and he said we're not allowed to pump our gas here, but I didn't know that was like a law. I thought it was just that station.
There you go. Most recent store opening.
I see. We have 50 stores a year. I can't keep track of them. It would have been about 4 weeks ago.
Okay, good. Do you know where it was?
No.
All right, just small. It was in this small town in Wisconsin. We kind of covered this, but I just need to make sure this is true. Packers or Vikings?
Oh, Packers.
Good, very good. True or false? There's a confessional in the Kwik Trip in Fond du Lac.
False.
Yeah, that is correct. There is one. Name the 3 colleges in lacrosse.
Oh well, UWL.
Yep.
University of Wisconsin Lacrosse, and Western Technical College, and I am chair of the board at Viterbo University, so I better get this one right.
There you go, my man. That's where Damian Miller played. By the way.
Exactly.
You're a lacrosse guy. What's the G in G Heilemann stand for?
George.
No. Trevor, you ready for this? Gottlieb.
Oh, funny.
Let's bring that. Yeah, we're bringing that. We're bringing that. It was full circle. Finally, better product innovation: car wash or glazed donut?
Oh, glazed donuts by far.
I just want to make. It's kind of like the Packers Vikings. It seems like it's a rhetorical question, but you never know.
And hey, by the way, for our guests, we say it's only good for 24 hours. If you have a box of Glazers after a day and they start not to taste as fresh anymore, 11 seconds in the microwave, back to freshness.
On what level? Just straight?
Yeah, 11 seconds. Yep, you bet.
On a plate.
My daughter's there. That's unbelievable. Yeah, by the way, you passed on all those. Congratulations. You went.
That might be the first time ever.
That's good that you're on top of that. So, by the way, when you studied in Italy, did you ever go in and around to that town, to the place, Viterbo?
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
fortunate. I was there for 4 years, so I got to travel all over the place. So it was a lot of fun.
Is that how you got the job? You're like, hey, I'm the only person that's been there. I should probably get the job.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a great use for speaking Italian here at Kwik Trip. So
Only you can
John,
do it with Wisconsin with a Wisconsin accent. It's even better. So that's John. That's great stuff. Thank you so much for indulging that. My nonsense as always. And now, as Trev says, when I come home and visit, he's like, I can't believe you haven't been in there long enough. I used to go to Bob's because that was the closest station where my dad is. That's fine. The Packers bought it and plowed it under so they could make a title town. So I'm looking for a new place to fill up anyway. So that'll be great.
We have several right by Lambeau Field, so make sure you visit us.
Yep. Thanks so much.
You bet. Thank you, guys. Good to be with you.
We want you to do a whole lot more than just save money. We want your money to grow, just like your dreams. We want you to achieve financial well-being and the feelings that go along with that. Capital Credit Union, doing the right thing.
The first time I saw John McHugh do a keynote, it was here in De Pere, and I remember leaving that, and I literally reached out to him and said, because of your keynote, I cannot wait to retire and come and work at Kwik Trip. Because it's that amazing when you walk in there and deal with these people and listen to him speak. I love that brand. So
are you feeling the same way now? Like, is there a chance I need to find somebody else to do the show with? Because you're going to be out being a store manager or running up the corporate ladder and going to lacrosse? I got to be honest. If there was ever a thing that I had to do, not trying to future cast what would happen with the Inside Wisconsin show, but that is a landing place for a lot of different people from a lot of different careers because of everything that he just shared. So no, I'm not going anywhere. This is going to be great. And that's a heck of a place. Maybe I need to rethink my post ESPN departure with some of the things. So, but believe me, when I know, I'll let you know so that you can tell everybody. Let me know. I can't wait to put out the tweet. All right. All right. Hey, you mentioned Bob's. That was often a gas station that you brought up from your childhood. It was over there by Lambeau. I remember it was on the corner, right, of Ridge and Lombardi. Not quite on the corner. Yeah. Yes. No. Ridge and Lombardi was that was a station you had to go a little bit over. It was the old. It was everything. It was a 76. It was a Golf. I'm not exactly sure what he was the last time, but take the service road that used to go in front of the Kmart, in front of the little whatever that hotel was. Yeah. And then that was Bob's, that gas station. Got it. It's where my dad bought gas for all his work vehicles for 100 years. And that's where we always parked for the Packer games. And he would, always held a spot for my dad, and he'd go in there, and it was great. And so when they closed it down, it was terrible. And one time, I can remember I wrote a lead in one time about Brett Favre's arm strength and about how he overthrew a receiver and it ended up in the parking lot at Bob's. And it's just, it's just sort of, they're practically, the Wattoons are practically family with the Collinses. And so many other well-known family names that are best friends with your parents in the neighborhood. All right. Another tale. John, Wisconsin. Here we go. Your childhood. Take us back. Okay, so they just finished up. What is it? They do the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont, the Triple Crown, right? Mm-hmm. So I've been, and I have a passing interest. I'm like everybody else. I'm not a big gambler, but when you have somebody that might be a Triple Crown winner, I watch more. But the horse racing is kind of this. But as all things that may or may not that are questionable in behavior and questionable in legality, I'm just going to say this may or may not have happened, and I may or may not have been involved. Yeah. Well, I'm taking myself off the screen. Go ahead and tell that story. No, I'm just saying. So I know some things. Some of this I know to be true. Some of this could be myth. Again, some of this I might or might not have been. So if you go there to the Green Bay Southwest High School, right there on Old Packerland Drive, across the street, there used to be there was a big giant tree where all the stoners had to go smoke across the street, and you were just those are the worst people, right? Everybody has that tree across the street. But then behind it was a field that had a couple of horses in it, and then behind that was kind of this place. It was sort of a church. It was like Our Lady of something, I believe, but it was kind of where young girls who were having trouble would go, and the church, and not really reform school, but it was this place for sort of waywards, and it was a wonderful place, right? They did the Lord's work, but they had this land, and part of the things they had were these horses, which I'm assuming were either therapeutic or they used them to take care of these things. So these horses. So now remember, we were the Green Bay Southwest Trojans, so great affinity for history, I'm sure. And for homecoming, well, first off, we used to on occasion try to jump the fence and see if we could get on one of the horses and ride the horses, and that never went well. Okay, so I don't know that anybody ever, like, we were not rodeo cowboys. Nobody ever made the 8 seconds. Nobody was trying. A lot of times they ran off. So that alone was just terrible. And we didn't do a lot, but we never did it successfully. But during homecoming one time, we thought, this is going to be funny. We kind of brainstormed this up. I say we, meaning these people I know, might have done this. And you paint the cars up, and you use whatever that, kind of water soluble thing so you can spray it off. And so I'll just come out and say it. We may or may not have painted the word Trojan on the side of the horse so we could have a Trojan horse.
Oh my God.
Which is bad. This little blue page. It was quick. It was not terribly legible from what I remember seeing or hearing about the story. And like I said, I just assumed that when the rain came, it washed off. But we thought, you know what? What's funny? The Greeks, how they entered Troy? Trojan horse. So if you had a horse, you just put Trojan on the side of it, then voila, Trojan horse.
Did you get to watch how long the paint lasted? How did that go?
I don't, honestly, since I know so little about what happened and who might have been involved. No, I don't.
Was this the same cast of characters?
I'm just going to say that if this in fact happened, these are people that are in my circle. That's all. I don't know. They're just,
wow.
Again.
And
I don't want to incriminate anybody that may or not need to be incriminated. I don't know what the statute of limitations for painting a horse is. Like the perpetrators of this prank had huge goals. Like, what if we painted it silver because then you'd have hi-ho silver, and then put Trojan on. Like, in the end, it was on a much smaller scale than originally designed and planned when it was on the old, vision board. So
you may or may not have been able to pull things off in your childhood that the majority of us, if we were to try it today.
I don't know for certain who was involved,
right,
in all of this, but
let's go with that.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and the nice thing is, I'm sure none of the gals there would have been blamed, right? No, I don't think there was a nun that just went, to any of the. Did you paint a horse? Did you get out? Did you leave your room after curfew and paint a horse? But it could have been, who it probably was them people smoking under a tree. That's probably who did
totally.
it.
Yep.
That's probably who it was.
How to get over there.
Those people were bad seeds. Yep.
That's
who. I'm almost positive that's who it was.
I don't even know how to.
I know it's awful, right? It's awful. How the people I know, whether it's me, my friends, or the next generation out, like, we should have spent some time in jail.
You're lucky you didn't spend a lot of time in jail, to be completely honest. Because I feel like you go to jail for things like that today. When I'm with my buddies from my childhood, they always say Trevor has the best stories. Buddy, you have the best stories from your childhood.
I don't know about that. I just, it was fun. It wasn't. It was never boring.
It was fun to talk to John McHugh from Kwik Trip and learn all about that mega brand that is here in the state of Wisconsin. We're so grateful for all they do, not only for us, but also for the communities. That was a story that we had on the list since the very beginning to want to share just the impact of Kwik Trip here in Wisconsin. All right, we're off and running. That's episode number 85. I believe you said if we get to 100, which we will, that you want a cake. So I'm already working with our friends at Festival Foods on making sure that you get a cake for episode 100. Just keep that in mind as we get a little bit.
Okay, very good. I'm trying to think where I'll be, where you need to send the cake, but good.
Well, you let me know. I'll make sure to tweet it out. All right, for John, I am Trevor. We will see you next time, Wisconsin, as you were. Remember to subscribe on YouTube, leave a review, smash the like button. Just get with us.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Kwik Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Shut up and sit down.